So basically, this Chiefs defense had given up a first down every time the offense was trying to convert in a close late game situation. By the way, the Chiefs defense ranked as the league's best in these situations last year. That same defense forces 4 straight 3-and-outs versus the offense with the very fewest 3-and-outs on the entire season. The number 1 scoring offense in the NFL stepped up against the team who may have caused this fan base more pain than any other team. And that's what won the game. And that's what saved the season. And that's what, for now, protected the dynasty.
Amateur Hour. Jeez, podcast. Amateur Hour. Jeez, podcast. Amateur Hour podcast on KC Sports Network. Amateur on KC Sports Network. Hour on KC Sports Network. Podcast on KC Sports Net. We're gonna talk Chiefs football for you, and you, and you, and you.
What is this, amateur hour?
Yeah, I ain't no Superman businessman like you. You know, I'm just a
amateur,
I suppose.
Amateur hour
Is what's happening.
Amateur hour
Is what's happening.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Yeah, that's right, folks. The show is still called Amateur Hour. I'm Ryan Scott Hall, and joining me today, I tried to come up with an Undertaker joke since he was down under, but now he's back, kind of like the Chiefs. But that also made me think of my meme for the season, call the ambulance, but not for me. And the Chiefs are once again taking things much too literally for my comfort. His Dirkness is back. His Dirkness. Hey, Dirk.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. That's a sup from a.
That's how they say sup. Down under.
Oh, really?
No.
I didn't think so. I was thinking it was still good day. I don't know. Conference realignment has maybe thrown things off. Who knows?
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Dirk. People have been asking. People have been wondering. It's been a little while since we've seen it. I've seen it. No, whatever. What's your big thing?
Should I? Right now? I mean, it is Thanksgiving after all. It's time for the holidays. Big thing. That's right. Step aside, Diggler. There's a new Down Under Dirk in town. Now, I usually lean towards Whitlock with my big thing, but today I'm going with a little Joe Posnanski. Pros for the folks. All right. So with the Kansas City Chiefs backs against the wall, in a way I didn't think was possible in the Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid era, Kareem Hunt has just fumbled the ball, surrendering possession down 11 in the fourth quarter, with the juice completely drained out of Arrowhead Stadium, where the Chiefs had been 16-1 in their last 17 games. Their win probability sat at a paltry 13%. The game felt just about over. And with that, the season on life support and the dynasty. Was it over? Was this it? At the hands of the Denver Broncos and the Indianapolis Colts? Forget the names at QB. You're telling me after all this team has done to put all of that pain in the rearview mirror that we felt at the hands of these two franchises, this is how it's going to end? Narratively, it felt like a fitting end. A game that was a microcosm of the entire season. An opponent we felt superior to. An opponent that we had outplayed in many ways, except for the one that mattered most. A team who in the past we would have handled our business against dismissively patted them on their heads while we continued our march towards another Super Bowl. There was just always something in the way this year. Either it's a bad throw or a missed block or a drop pass or a penalty or nobody's open or somebody's open but he's missed or a bad play design or an RPO or it's man-to-man coverage or a sideways shotgun run. This game had all of that. Only now it had the final piece of that puzzle. Their first lost fumble of the entire season. Down 20-9 in the fourth quarter. And then something happened. There was no singular magical moment to point at. No tackle that turned the tide. Just a football team making one play at a time. A negative 2-yard stuff on a run blitz. An incompletion. A blitz that me, you, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, Jim Harbaugh, hell, even 40-year-old Matt Ryan and Jacoby Brissett knew was coming. It didn't really get home, but it did force a harmless incompletion. 3 and out. But what could the Chiefs do with it? This mighty Chiefs offense, with all of their weapons back in their holster, either couldn't see their targets clearly or were too gun shy to pull the trigger. A deep ball in a double coverage, a drop ball down the sideline, a blindside block right between the eyes, a handoff to Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the year 2025. Alas, a touchdown, 2-pointer, another 3 and out. Hope. We're bad. Never mind. We just put it again. That feels more like it. Losing by 2 scores wouldn't have been right. Not this year. Surely the Colts will lean on their MVP running back and run out the clock now. Nope. Yet another 3 and out. Okay, but surely the offense has come up short time and time again when it matters this year will once again. Okay, but surely that kicker who's having his worst year will miss the game-tying kick. Okay, but there's no way this defense gets its 4th stop in a row. What? Another 3 and out to start overtime? Stuffed the MVP cold on a 3rd and 1, losing 2 yards so they can't even go for it. Chris Jones fighting off a double team, Nick Bolton shedding a block to fill the hole, Drew Tranquil knifing through and making a big play, yada, yada, yada. The offense goes down and wins the game. But the defense, who this season has been shockingly bad in clutch situations, a phenomenal stat from Jesse Newell. The Chiefs defense had faced 7 snaps on 3rd and 4th down in a 1-score game under 5 minutes this season. They had allowed 6 conversions. Close game, late situations, 6 first downs on 7 gotta have it snaps. Allowing conversions on 3rd and 15, 3rd and 14, and 2 3rd and 7s. The only stop in there was that they were running the ball on a 3rd and 7 because the Chiefs were out of timeouts and they were just trying to drain the clock. So basically, this Chiefs defense had given up a first down every time the offense was trying to convert in a close late game situation. By the way, the Chiefs defense ranked as the league's best in these situations last year. That same defense forces 4 straight 3 and outs versus the offense with the very fewest 3 and outs on the entire season. The number 1 scoring offense in the NFL stepped up against the team who may have caused this fan base more pain than any other team. And that's what won the game. And that's what saved the season. And that's what, for now, protected the dynasty.
And that's your big thing?
That's my big thing.
Yeah, okay.
That's my big thing.
Well, in response to your big thing, Dirk, I feel like I got to let you know.
I got to out of the best part.
Look, the Colts coming into the game were, in fact, the number 1 scoring and production offense, yards and points, number 1 in both categories coming in. Also, lest we all forget, the Colts are coming off a bye week entering this game, fully rested, about as healthy as anybody's going to be at this stage in a season. And that number 1 offense comes in, and the Kansas City Chiefs and Steve Spagnuolo, as they have been doing all season, hold them to much lower than what they have been producing. It turns out that the 31 points a game the Colts were scoring only amounted to 20 against the Kansas City Chiefs, a negative 11 on the day. And on top of that, the number 1 production offense in terms of yards was held to 130 fewer yards than they had been averaging on the season. These guys got shut down. Shut down. I am telling you.
Shut down. Shut down.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at a team that through 11 games has held their opponents collectively to negative 87 points. Love the numerology there. Hey, Trav. That's negative 7.9 points per game through the bulk of the season, over half of their games, continuing to make their opponents really struggle to get points on the board. And if you really want to look at like where this team is put their best performances together as far as that's concerned, since week 5, since the game against Jacksonville, every opponent has been held under their season average. And currently, since week 5 in the last 6 games, teams are scoring negative 11.3 points per game against their season totals against this Chiefs defense. I don't know what it is, if it's just the collective genius of Steve Spagnuolo, the Rolodex of things he can go back on and say, hey, I've seen this before. Oh, yep, we know what to do in this situation or that formation. But I tell you what, man, to see a defense that not so much in this game, but in a lot of games this year has been put in a lot of really bad spots. They certainly were put in a bad spot to start this game. But I feel like the resilience that you need for a team to, go the distance, we're really seeing that on the defensive side of the ball. One huge switch that I think has occurred is getting Mike Pennell back. I think that like the numbers before and after Mike Pennell are I don't know if it's like a stark difference, but I would not be surprised if things have maybe shored up a little bit. Can I ask you about the run defense though? Just in general, they shut down a Jonathan Taylor impressively. It seems like anytime that they're up against a Derrick Henry, a Jonathan Taylor, some big name running back, sans LaDainian Tomlinson during that era. I feel like anytime in this modern era we see these big name backs, the Chiefs have had an incredible job under Spags of being able to shut them down. I don't feel like the Chiefs get run on, and there's all these numbers, and people thought the Chiefs' run defense was bad even before Pennell was here. But I just never really worried about them defensively against the run, and I feel like they proved once again that whether it's schematics or personnel or just old-fashioned want to, that they're pretty damn good against the run.
And that's something we've been saying all season. Like the run defense, like the advanced numbers are really bad, and yet if it comes down to it, I trust the run defense. I know we've tackled that discussion a few times on this program. There was also 21 questions I did with Matty Lane where we talked about that for a good chunk of time, and I was basically just like, I don't trust these numbers because I trust the run defense when it matters, and I think they're just fine allowing it at different times, and that really hurts the numbers that we see here. And that kind of played out in this one. No further proof than on a 3rd and 1 in overtime, getting a stop where if you just get a stop and it's 4th and 1, they're going to go for it. But to force a loss for 2 yards, that kind of pushes their hand. They're like, oh shit, now I don't know what to do. And they end up punting the ball away. That's there's no further proof than right there. And also just talking about Spags, he really had Daniel Jones rattled. And going back, and someone from Colts Twitter, I think, Stephen Holder, I want to say his name, but he kind of showed the 3 third down passes from Daniel Jones, 3 third down passes of the 4 3 and outs. The other stuff was the 3rd one run. But he had 3 throws in there, and you could just see that Daniel Jones was rattled. They were bringing people from all angles. It was the Spagnuolo we've come to know that we've kind of seen this year. I think that was a big complaint coming out of that Broncos game, is that we didn't really light Bo Nix up like we did early on, but then kind of went away from it, which I think we've kind of seen a lot this year. Like he's blitzing early in the games and then not late in the games, which is not what we've used to seeing from Spagnuolo. And obviously you have to change this up over time. If you just wait till the end of the game and then come with exotic blitzes at the end, teams are going to be ready for it. So it's always a chess match there. But Daniel Jones has receivers open on some of these plays, doesn't really get pressured on a different one, and he's just rattled. He throws the ball before he needs to, he throws a 5-yard completion on the 4th and 10 or whatever it was towards the end. They end up punting on the 4th and 4. There's another one where he just chooses the wrong receiver, where the Chiefs defense is running around in pure chaos mode, where they're trying to get, they're trying to get Jaden Hicks over to the other side of the field, I think. And so they're screaming at him. Everybody's running around. It's chaos out there, which I think only adds to it for Daniel Jones, who's trying to figure out what kind of defense they're running with defenders running all over the place. How's he supposed to know? And that ends up just adding to it. But they had Daniel Jones rattled in a way that I don't like. I know the season numbers are good for the defense, but again, in these key situations, or it's kind of one of those, just like the 2025 Chiefs as a whole, they got all these good stats, but are they actually good, or are they just kind of they're good when it doesn't matter most? And so in these big time moments, we haven't seen that kind of play out. And in this situation, they clearly had Daniel Jones rattled, and that's what won the game.
I think it really speaks to something that's happening on defense, and we're going to talk about it right after this break.
Missouri, big news. It's almost your turn to get in the game because DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to the Show Me State on December 1st. Soon you'll get fast payouts when you win, a safe and secure app that's easy to use, and promos that keep the action going all season long. No wonder it's America's top-rated sportsbook app. The countdown is on. New customers can sign up right now and score $300 in bonus bets on launch day. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code KCSN. New Missouri customers sign up today and score $300 in bonus bets once we're live. That's code KCSN. The crown is yours. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply, subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Bonus bets are not withdrawable and expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
So, Dirk, you went through very eloquently talking about the ability of this Chiefs defense to get Daniel Jones rattled, and it forced him to make some bad choices down the stretch on those 3 of those 4 consecutive 3-and-outs that the Colts had offensively. It's kind of a you used the word microcosm earlier, so I'll use that one. It's kind of a microcosm of what this Chiefs defense is, because can I feel like I want to make an amateur of the game on the defensive side of the ball. And the title of amateur of the game is going to be a little bit misleading, because I'm going to choose the guy on your shirt there, Chris Jones, who is anything if amateur. But here's the thing, man, like it feels pretty amateurish to completely dominate a game, but come away with basically nothing on the stat sheet. And that's not just Chris Jones. That is in a lot of ways the Chiefs defense. Like it's not like they went out there and, got 6 sacks or anything. They just pressured Daniel Jones all game long and sped him up enough and got him spooked enough. The combination of the different angles of where the rush was coming from, the numbers of guys, the exotic looks on the pre-snap stuff, and the Arrowhead crowd on top of all of it. And I know for a fact that place was rocking, because the fans would have known just as well as the team knew that, like, the season was on the line. This is a completely like lose your voice game when we're talking about all of these huge moments defensively in the fourth quarter. There's no way we would have been recording on Tuesday had we been in this game, man. Like this is a perfect like Arrowhead crowd type of atmosphere for that.
But also, like, it would have been perfectly reasonable to be, you kind of reach a point, that fumble when Kareem Hunt has that, you just feel so dejected. Yeah. And it's really hard to inject that energy like back into a crowd who's just, they know what's at stake in this game, and they see the circumstance playing out. I mean, you're down 11 points without the ball in the fourth quarter. Like, things are dire at that point, and it's really hard to rally. And there's just been, I didn't really notice it during the game necessarily, but there's just been so much talk about it. And I love how it's a thing that Chris Jones really played his part in like firing up the crowd. Because that's like a moment where you need that pickup. Like, okay, they're still fighting. Like, they still believe, like, we need to get behind this team. Wherein it's just like at a time, like, we're talking to people at the game and they're talking about people leaving the game. They're talking about people being done with this, walking out of the stadium. And that's a rare thing to happen at Arrowhead. But it was just that's how dire it was. Like it was that kind of time in the game. And you need to be kind of rallied. And Chris Jones doing that. And Chris Jones now, who we're very zoomed in here talking about needing to win this game and everything, but zooming out a bit and talking about this season, I think our biggest fear, and probably most Chiefs fans' biggest fear of this season, or biggest worry at least, is the pass rush. And the pass rush has woken up the last couple of weeks, and Chris Jones has played by far his best 2 games the last 2 weeks. And so that's like the best sign moving forward. If we were to look at this team, like I think we've said all along, like, can they get enough pass rush if Chris Jones isn't the same type of player as he's been in the past? And kind of the hope almost was like, he's kind of saving something in the tank because he is now, we debate his age every single week on this program, but what I think he's 31 now. His age does stay the same. We should be able to figure this out. So it's like,
he wears 95. What?
Oh, yeah, right. He's not Priest Holmes, or Maurice Liggett. No, he's like, the hope was he's saving something in the tank for the second half of the season and into the playoffs, because typically that's what this team needs. Like, we don't need Chris Jones to be showing up in week 11 or week 12 all the time. We need him even later in the season and then really in the playoff stretch. But we have reached this point in the season where we do need him to step up, and he has stepped up the last 2 weeks.
I mean, honestly, if you're Chris Jones, you're probably telling people, like, look, if I played on the Browns, I'd have 18 sacks in 11 games too, because the season is the only thing that matters, right? Like, I am saving myself because I have a postseason to play for. I look at the fact that he's being given credit by a number of people that watch the game at a very granular level and talking about him kind of taking it upon himself to rally not just the crowd, but the defense, obviously, as well, after that Kareem Hunt fumble, that it was almost like Chris Jones became, the spirit of the team that says, like, Kareem literally has lost 2 fumbles in his career. The very, very first game that he ever played in a Chiefs uniform and the one on Sunday.
Really?
Yes, that was only his second lost fumble of his career. Now,
whoa,
fact check that, but that was what I saw going around, and I'm like,
Nick, fact check that.
We're talking about a moment where Travis, you've seen the video of Travis coming up to Kareem. I don't know if we have audio of what he said, if either one was liked, but
it's kind of, I couldn't tell if he was like trying to shake him out of it, like, we need you kind of thing, or just like, I couldn't. It was a real quick shot of it.
It seemed like encouragement, right? I also
saw it was negative. It wasn't. There's no chance it was like him yelling at him. It was just kind of like, what was the context of this? Like, Kareem's just down on himself, like hanging his head kind of thing, and like, no, we need you. Wake the fuck up.
Yeah, pretty much. And I also am now seeing. I don't know if this came from New Heights. I don't listen to New Heights usually, but I think that apparently he said something to Rasheed again during the game, like, buddy, I need you to lock in right now. And not like you're not doing what we need, but like, hey, it's really important. It's time, I need you to switch it on in this moment or whatever. Which may have been the fuel that Rasheed needed to keep hobbling through the fourth quarter. Honestly, just can I for a second, like, I want to take a step back, because you mentioned, like, after that fumble that people are talking about, like, people in the crowd leaving. And I wonder, there are probably a lot of Chiefs fans that, like, fully lament someone that would do that. They would crush them,
they should not be allowed back in Arrowhead Stadium. Yeah, I will crush them.
Understandable. Man, I feel like this is like a Pacho alert here, given the way that he handled the Chiefs Falcons game. But I'm thinking about the fact that this whole game, man, honestly, the entire day, I was absolutely miserable. And after the game, I saw, and I don't know if this is just like, social media or what, but you're like, I had an amazing time. And I did not have an amazing time at all during this game. It was like from before the game even started, I was just dreading what it was going to end up being. And the way that they played, man, like, I guess it's not like I'm going to walk out on a game. All right. Like I'm not here to defend the people that left this game early.
I will leave this. I'll walk out on this podcast right now. That's all.
I'm not defending people that left the game, but I do think that it was a pretty agonizing experience to watch this game. And it did make for some pretty amazing moments down the stretch. And maybe I just forgot the angst of actually having, stakes, outside of the playoffs or whatever. But it was brutal at times. And to come in feeling as nervous as I did, and then have on the second offensive play of the game after your defense gets a stop against the number one offense in the league, you get a stop. They wanted the ball, and then like we get the stop, and I'm like, put that shit away, let's go. All right, I'm like feeling like $1 million, and on the second freaking play, a Spaxian defensive end, a guy with no real athleticism, a true bull rusher out here, makes just an absolutely incredible play, and suddenly the vibes are just in the absolute gutter for me. After that one, it's like the sun was coming out. The Chiefs got a stop on the first drive. Maybe we can have a good game here, and then the red rug got snatched out from under me. And this is where it's almost like the second amateur of the game here. I wanna point at Patrick Mahomes, and I know not an amateur, right? But you're slowing me down. You're telling me to stop.
Yeah.
Fine.
Back it up. Beep, beep. No, that's what makes it fun. I mean, having what you call the miserable experience, like the angst that comes with watching it. I mean, that's like the fun of watching it for me. Like, I don't want a relaxed time sitting here watching a game with no real expectations on the line. Like, that's what makes playoff games so damn fun. That's what made, growing up as a Chiefs fan and watching all of those games matter every single week was fun. Like that's you want expectations on the line. And it's like, I don't want to say it's like the negative of the Patrick Mahomes era, but we've watched a lot of regular season games that don't have much
Are you just talking about like the lever, like not much meaning, much
okay, meaning on the line? I was gonna say expectations, that's not right. We watched tons of games like that, but I think that's I love that feeling. I want to feel that. I am pacing around the room when it gets down to like they finally show some fight, get a stop, and they're driving down to make it 2017. I am just like pacing like I have only paced during playoff games. Like it was an effort as a fan that is only matched from like AFC Championship or Super Bowl type events is what it felt like, just because everything was on the line.
Should we just do sports nuts right here in the middle of it all? I mean, gracious, like
I should show like the nanny cam we have in my living room of me walking around just like stalking the big screen TV. He's gonna pounce.
You should have seen me in this hotel lobby. Nick, it's time for sports nuts. Let's just do sports nuts.
What a sports nut, huh?
Dude, I could not. I'm in Denver. I have no idea like what I want to do, where I want to go. I was thinking about going to Don's. It's the Chiefs bar in Denver, and I really thought that was going to be the play. And then I started looking, and they don't serve food. They said it's a potluck, which seems like a cool thing. But you know me as a chef, like wanting to bring and not being able to bring. I'm not at home, whatever. I didn't go. And I'm truly sitting around a shell of myself, and ultimately decide I'm not going to leave my room, but I have to check out an hour into the game. So I sit up there, watch the first quarter, and I go down into this corner of the hotel lobby, get them to give me a TV, and I am just back there brooding the entire game. Some of my colleagues come and sit with me for parts of the second quarter.
Yes.
And
please leave.
I am not saying a word. And I gotta say, Miss Jackson, I'm so sorry. I know I was rude. I know it felt weird. I was, dude, I'm not kidding. I was so intense during this game because I'm just like,
what'd you do to her?
She like asked me if I had plans for Thanksgiving or something. There's like 2 minutes left in the first half, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Miss. I can't talk right now. I cannot talk. I'm
sorry, Miss Jackson.
But I mean, truly, like, and you know, the staff. I'm the only person in the lobby, and you know, I'm being loud and I'm grumbling, and I'm just so. I mean, it was a scene. It was a full sight, and even when they won. Like, it was only a little bit of relief. Like, I want to be able to celebrate the fact that they won. But it's a
little bit of a relief? What? Are you kidding me?
Dude, look, winning this game is great. It's important. They got by the skin of their teeth, and they honestly didn't prove a whole lot to me about whether they can, you know, go on a run here. I didn't like suddenly see that everything is fixed on either side of the ball. They played well for, you know, 12 minutes. They figured it out in the fourth, and it's not even, I don't even know if it's 12. I mean, like, this was not some performance that I think we can hang our hats on and be like, hey, look, it's all right in Tree's Kingdom.
No, it didn't matter. They didn't have to look good. All they had to do was win. The proof that they can go on a run is what this team has done in the past. Like, they didn't need to prove anything in this game. They just needed to win and give themselves that chance.
Yes. And I mean, I think that they gave themselves a little bit of breathing room for sure. And I think that they beat. Yes.
You are muted right now.
No, I'm not. My microphone's not. If you can't hear me, you can't hear me?
My speaker's dead.
Welcome to Amateur Hour, everybody. I am not muted, Dirk. Sorry to hear that, pal. You know what? We're having a couple technical difficulties, so we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be right back.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. Emprise Bank has been with us from the beginning. They were our first network partner, and they believed in the vision of what we were building from the start. I can't speak to any other banks or companies and how they operate, but I can tell you from personal experience and based on the growth of the network you're listening to right now, that if you have banking needs, call our friends at Emprise Bank. We've worked with so many great people there over the years, from Vicky and Aggie to Andrea, Lori, Jackie, Deb, and Aaron, and not to mention so many others that not just supported KC Sports Network, but supported our KCSN Foundation as well. But the best thing that I know is that if I have a question or a problem, no matter how dumb the question is, I know who I'm going to call and who I'm going to talk to. And I know that I'm getting an answer from someone that I can trust. And I know that person is there to help us. That's why Emprise Bank has always been and continues to be our partner in Possible. And they can be yours too. You just have to reach out. If you have a banking need, whether it's business or personal, hit me up. I will connect you directly with the same people that have helped us build KCSN. And that's our friends at Emprise Bank.
All right, we are back. Dirk, before the break had a little technical difficulty there, but I think you were kind of like in the mood to respond to the idea that I did not get a whole lot of confidence coming out of this win, because it literally felt like they won like the least amount of a win. Like it was like, we are going to, as barely as possible, win this game is kind of the way that they won. And don't get me wrong, they could have been completely outgained. They could have turned the ball over 4 times. They could have done a whole bunch of things and then like totally snuck out at the end. It could have looked different and worse, right? They barely won this football game. And I don't come out of it saying everything is fixed. So
No, it's saying everything is fixed, but you can't win a Super Bowl in November. I mean, we've said these types of lines all the time. Like they need to be at their best in January, but they need to get to January to be able to be at their best in January. So that's kind of what it's about now. But you can also look at the game like they dominated it statistically. So I mean, it was like 2-1 in total yards. What was the Let me try to find the stat here in the fourth quarter from Danny Parkins. They outgained the Colts by 218 yards in the fourth quarter and overtime. That's the most in any NFL game in the last 3 years. So it's like the one thing that we did need to see from this team is be at its best when it mattered most. And they were absolutely at their best when it mattered most. So I don't think they come out of this and like, oh, they're the best team in the NFL again. Like they're showing that, but I do think they can get there again. Absolutely. Cause I think they have all their pieces. And what I looked at as their biggest weakness was rushing the passer. And I think they've gotten better there. So I think they're very much alive. Especially when you look around the NFL and I see maybe one dominant team in the Rams, everybody else, like, let's line them up. Like I'm ready to see the Chiefs go take someone down in January. If someone wants to beat us in January, then I'll tip my hat to them, but we need to get there.
Yeah. I mean, they still have a lot of work to do. Honestly, man, I was openly asking the question walking into the game, and for the majority of that game, constantly asking myself, do I actually believe in the 2025 Chiefs? Do I believe in this team? It became a theme throughout this Colts game, and honestly, I got to tell you, man, even after the game is over and they won, I still don't know. I don't know if I believe in them. Like, I don't think I'm where you are. You're like, hey, they have all the pieces. They have everything they need. I don't know if I feel that way.
But you get to keep asking the question. If they lost that game, you would have had your answer. Now that's the best question.
I think, I think if we want to get technical about that game on Sunday, had the Chiefs lost to the Colts, they could still finish the season with 11 wins. And I felt comfortable that 11 was going to be enough.
It will be, yeah.
That they would probably get in, but it removed all margin for error. It would literally have become that the Chiefs were in sudden death for every minute, every game for the rest of the season. They would officially just have to be in playoff mode. I think like Sunday was cool. It was satisfying for sure, but it felt like they almost wanted to give me and everyone else watching the least possible amount of confidence from a win. And that's how it felt to me. And I was miserable.
I mean, how about overcoming like one of those 7-point mistakes that they keep kind of making in these losses from the season? Like they couldn't overcome it against Jacksonville, which is the loss that's just kind of like the shit cloud hanging over this team right now. Or
poop in the punch bowl or whatever, right?
The turd in the punch. If they had just pulled that game out, like they'd be sitting fine right now. Yeah. But like they overcame that. Like they had the big mistake in the most important game, and they were able to overcome it. Amongst other mistakes where they get some joke of a penalty on a touchdown that they score early in the game. And you know, overcoming all these different things, like that's what matters. It's just you got to get there.
It is a weird one too. You know, I mentioned that my other amateur of the game was Patrick Mahomes. He had his highest number of attempts in a game this season, his most passing yards in a game this season. He also allowed 4 sacks.
Actually his most passing yards in the last 42 games.
Holy cow.
To 2023 against the Chargers, he had like over 400 in a middle of the season game.
Didn't throw a touchdown pass, had that fluky interception. I mean, and you know what? It's weird. On top of saying that like Chris Jones has this player of the game performance without a sack, Patrick Mahomes has sort of a player of the game performance without a touchdown pass. If you want to not give it to Patrick Mahomes on the offense, you're going to give it to Kareem Hunt, who perhaps his most important play of the game was fumbling the ball. Because it inspired both sides of the team, apparently. The fumble was the rallying cry. The weirdest of all the weird games. I'm telling you, man. And look.
I don't think it was a rallying cry. Like, the offense was going in to score a touchdown. Like, I think they had control of the game. Like, I had all the confidence in the world driving down the field right then. Okay, we're going to cut this to 3 points. Like, I think we're good here. But then when he fumbled, that was like the time where I was just like, it was then. And it was the 3 and out after getting the ball back down 3, where it was just like, okay, now's the drive. And it's a time where the Chiefs offense has failed again and again this year. Like, go tie this game, Pat. Like, this is where this is where your specialty, like, go tie the game. And just like a super weak 3 and out. And it was just like that with the season on the line, that was the drive. So those are the 2 times that I was just like, we are going to fucking blow this, aren't we?
I mean, honestly, I felt like that's, par for the course this season, man. Like, and that's why I keep asking the question, like, do I believe in this team? And right now, I don't know. I don't know if I believe in the 2025 Chiefs right now. There are a couple things on offense though that I want to get to with you. Do you want to talk about man versus zone, or do you want to talk about running the football?
Both.
Okay.
At the same time.
Okay. Well,
let's a little play action. Should we do a little play action?
I didn't have that in my notes, but that's part of
not talking play action. Like we're going to fake the run game and actually talk about.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I see in my research that against man, Patrick Mahomes had 11 first downs and over 230 passing yards. Both by far his highs for the season in a game. But it also kind of felt like.
Do you know where you got those, by the way?
Orlovsky.
Yeah. Okay.
It also kind of felt like when the Chiefs offense actually broke out, based on what people were saying, it was when they finally got a couple zone looks.
Those were their big chunk plays. Like it was the same deep over route that the Chiefs have been running for God knows how long. Those seem like the big chunks, other than, when they're deep in their own territory and he hits Rasheed over the middle and the corner kind of undercuts it and he goes for like 50 yards or so. That was a fan. Worthy going across, making the great adjustment to catch the ball. That was in man. So there's a couple big plays in there, man. But early on, before that, I guess I would say, like, they couldn't do anything against man, despite those numbers that you just read. I mean, I guess those are 2 big plays. But despite those numbers, it felt like when they're in man coverage, like they didn't have any answers.
And I mean, against this corner duo, and there were, a few different moments. I can't remember if it was Worthy that didn't come down with it when Charvarius Ward broke the play up toward the end. And I'm just like, dude, I'm having these visions of that Colts defense making plays like that in the playoffs. And I'm like, God, if they figure out how to get a Super Bowl with Daniel Jones, I'm going to be so freaking irritated, that we can't get one for Alex, but Daniel Jones gets one. I was down bad in this game. Look, some would say that the Chiefs have no man beating weapons. And I think others would say that they have no man beating plays. And even others still would say that Mahomes won't throw into tight windows. Like, I don't really know what the deal is with man coverage or what, but I got to tell you, if you're struggling to know what's best for man versus zone for the Chiefs offense, just celebrate the fact that enter Matt Eberflus, who might be as much of a get-right defensive coordinator for this Chiefs offense as our old friend Gus Bradley used to be. The Dallas defense has played over 80% of their snaps in zone this year, easily the highest amount in the league. It's just kind of we do what we do and we plan on being better than you. And that kind of like on time, predictable, you just have to beat them at their own game sort of stuff is where Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes typically find a lot of offensive success. So we won't necessarily get any answers about how the Chiefs can handle man this week, provided the Cowboys defense plays to their tendencies, but we might get to see Patrick Mahomes completely surgically eviscerate a Cowboys defense that is ranked 32nd in the league against the pass.
Which is funny because they've paid 2 cornerbacks top money too, just because they had lots of interceptions, but couldn't actually guard anybody. It does remind me, I'd forgotten about that. It was the 2021 season where we're having these same man-to-man conversations, which is crazy because we had Tyreek Hill back then. But then we'd play the Raiders. So we scored 19 and then 22, and then we played the Raiders 48. And it was just like, I'm going to sit in my cover 3 and dare him to beat it. Here's more. Offensive production that year, 3 points, 20 points, 13 points, 41 against the Raiders, 19, 22, 48 against the Raiders. That season ended with the Bengals AFC Championship game, which was not fun. But the zone, so in my notes, I got Rasheed Rice, 4 targets in man with 1 catch for 19 yards and 8 targets against zone with 7 catches for 122 yards. So that would kind of mean that play that I was talking about earlier from deep in their own territory was against zone, I guess. I thought it was man.
And that was I think that's a 47-yarder that I think they said was like the biggest win probability jump for the Chiefs in the game. They went from like 20-something to 50-something from that one play. But I also remembered the interception on that first drive. If I remember correctly, I think it was Sam McDowell that recorded it. It was like a 15% jump on this random play in the first quarter. He's like, it's you rarely see a huge jump in win probability that early.
Which is, I mean, it goes back. Remember my opening with the Jags game? That was a 100-yard pick six, obviously. So different circumstances there. But it's extremely hard to win a game when you give up a 100-yard pick six. That was less, but still bad. By the way, on that, Mahomes has always like changed his arm angle for throwing those balls. Like he's always been the kind of guy that like breaks out the arm angle, does whatever. Like he's really good at like not getting tipped on those type of throws. So it was really surprising to see that early on. Just a quick whatever. So yeah, I'd have to see that play to see if that was man or zone or whatever. But I did have like a lot of notes in my phone that were not kind of Rashee Rice. Like, where the fuck is Rashee Rice when we need him? Like, we wait all this time to get our weapons back. We get them back, and now everyone's telling me that they can't beat man-to-man coverage. Like, people telling me he's a top 10 receiver in the league, top 5 receiver in the league, but he can't beat man coverage. So I'm just like, all right, where the hell is he? And then he totally switched me up by just going off, seemingly hurting his hamstring, giving him superpowers that now he's able to beat him because all his production seemed to come after that point, and really saved the season on what was a bad Mahomes throw, not the worst throw, but a bad Mahomes throw on 4th down where they lose the game if he doesn't catch that. And Rashee Rice just goes up and gobbles that up. So he saved the season with that catch. Xavier Worthy, we also kind of touched on his catch earlier where he adjusts to the ball and kind of comes back on it. That was a tougher throw, not the most accurate, but a downfield, tougher throw to put on the money. The one to Rashee, I think Mahomes just kind of let get away from him a bit, like a little too amped up, and it was just floated along a little. But the discussion on what's going on in the past game, because for most of the day it did not look good. It's really hard to figure out what's going on because we have Romo over here saying he's coming off his progressions too quick. We got the KC Lab saying that's completely ridiculous, even though they hate Andy Reid and won't admit it. But you're seeing these replays, and it's like a receiver does eventually break open, but he's not open right away. So I kind of get Romo's point, but maybe that's too much time, so I can't figure it out. I kind of get the point with plays; they're not scheming them open. Like I can't figure out. But I also buy into the theory that I wanted to float past you that they had to make sort of a philosophical change in Patrick Mahomes' head in 2023 to win playing that style of football. And it seems like he hasn't really been able to shake free of that. And he's become very careful in his decision-making, which works if you have a great defense, which they did in this game. But I'm not sure if they do this season necessarily. Like, I'm not sure if they can win playing that style of football. So I do my antennas are up and I'm listening to the theory that like they had to, for lack of a better term, neuter him a bit in 2023 to be like, all you got to do is not make mistakes and this defense can win you a Super Bowl. And it did. There's no qualms with putting that philosophy into his head at that time because it worked. But now I think they need him to like break free of that and become more of the gunslinger that is in his natural abilities. So I think that's a very interesting discussion, I guess I would say. And I think that's on the table. Like I'm seeing times where like Mahomes needs to let it fly and he's being overly careful with it.
People have talked about like he's seen too much, he's learned too much, and now he just has he's just so wise that he just is getting in his own way. And like, look, I gotta be honest, man.
I can respect that. I know the feeling.
This is I'm gonna try to weave a point that I wanted to make that has nothing to do with this into this. Let's see if I can do it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The reason that I think Mahomes having to sack up a little bit, throw it with your chest some more, to try to make the lab feel better, that we do all hear that you guys are trying to fire Andy a little bit.
Lou Anarumo owns Andy Reid. The last 4 games, Andy Reid is 4-0, but he is getting owned. Love ya.
I just I want to. The reason I think it's so important for Mahomes to be willing to risk it a little more, maybe if we harken back to my guy Bruce Arians, no risk it, no biscuit, right? And I think that we've heard from Andy before. The great ones keep firing, and you can't let the interception, like clog up the way that you're playing. And oh yeah, we want to attack downfield, and that's been a theme for 2 years since they put this receiving core together. And so I don't think the messaging is, hey, Pat, you can't make mistakes anymore, right? But what needs to click in his mind, and I'm hoping that now that Josh Simmons is back, that it does, is like, Patrick, we chose to draft you a left tackle for you to be able to do some of the stuff that we're asking you to do. Like, we wanted to give you more time and give you more confidence because we need you to do some of these things, and you're happy feet. I mean, honestly, the way that he's bailing out of pockets, the way that he's, and don't get me wrong, I understand. I do hear people saying he's moving in order to get defenders to move, to get guys open. I understand that is totally a possibility, but that is then just operating on the presumption that Patrick Mahomes can never do anything wrong, that you are just going to give him the benefit of the doubt on every single play. And I think that he has been rushing. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to assume that the clock has been sped up a little bit sometimes, and that he doesn't always make the perfect play. And to me, look, if you want to look at some of the warts on this roster, I think that there is a very reasonable way for, as a Chiefs fan, for us to realize that there is some fallout, some holes on this team because the Chiefs drafted Josh Simmons after signing Jalen Moore. If you look at how they approached free agency, it told you that they were planning on going into this draft and probably taking a defensive lineman in the first round. But Josh Simmons falls into their lap, and it pushes down defensive linemen, and then they have to take the best defensive tackle that they still saw on the board, and he has not impacted this team whatsoever. And then they take another pass rusher the following round, and everything gets pushed down the line, and then you end up with a running back in the 6th round who seems to be fine, But some of these things, because they prioritized Josh Simmons, and I am not in any way complaining about it, but that was not their plan going into the draft. I don't think that they planned on paying a left tackle in Jalen Moore and then drafting another one so that both of your best assets were at the same position. It makes me want to applaud Brett Veach because he knew drafting this guy, this left tackle, is more important than getting a defensive tackle to play next to Chris Jones this year. We can figure it out some other way. But because they invested in Simmons and they're trying to rework this offensive line, who is playing really well. My God, Kingsley too, man. Shout out to Kingsley, the way that dude has found himself at guard. I was really worried, and he is proving every doubt wrong in my head. But I really think that because of these investments on the offensive line and who Patrick Mahomes is and how this offense is schematically built around his talents, buddy, you have got to be the one who is playing the best football for this team to really be at their peak. And in a lot of ways, he has not. And so we need to see Patrick Mahomes be a fucking killer again. And he seemed to, with the offense on Sunday, find some of that a little bit. But he's still not the real cold-blooded Baba Yaga that we have come to know. And I think we need more of that, man. I think that we need more of that for this team to really, really reach their peak this year.
And I mean, we've kind of been talking about this for a couple of years now, but the blame is being placed on the receivers not being healthy and the offensive line being bad. But we've shored up both of those problems now, and it's like we're kind of still seeing the same problems. So now the finger is just being pointed at coaching, which, I mean, they may be right. And I think it's not going to be one thing here. It's going to be all of these are a piece of the pie here. But I don't think that it's just like purely on coaching now. Like, I think it's partially on Mahomes, partially on the receivers not being as good as we had hoped to be able to beat man coverage. I think it's partially on A&E's plays, Mahomes. I forgot who I said first, but it's everyone's taking a piece of the pie, and it'll be interesting to see if they can adjust. Like, did they make adjustments throughout this game to improve that? Because they obviously, we have those stats against man coverage. That's better than I'm sure they've had in any other game this year. So did they make those adjustments already? Are they on the cusp of making those adjustments this year? Or is this something that's just going to have to be waited on and fixed in the offseason? Let's get the run game.
Yeah, let's talk about the run game a little bit. I had this thought going into the game that, honestly, I mean, it feels perfect that the game ended up going the way that it did, given where my head was at coming in. Look, the run is where football began. Like, literally, it is how football started. It's like the literal foundation of offensive football. But because we have Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs fans want to act like running the ball doesn't matter at all. And don't get me wrong, there might be like certain age groups that say, you got to run that damn ball. And typically it's probably the people that saw more running in their formative years are probably feeling that way at times. And look, it might be helpful, I think, if we made an analogy to running the ball to kind of like computing. All right. So bear with me. Fans that think running the ball is in some respects a waste of time when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, they might think about running the ball kind of like a floppy disk, right? Like, hey, that might have been where the game started, but it's obsolete now. We don't even use those things anymore. Could you buy one on eBay if you wanted to? Maybe, but who wants it? It's useless. It may have been where we started, but no longer important. In actuality, I guess I look at running the ball kind of like coding, like it's such an essential part that like it could never be obsolete. And it is that basic that it is the building block of what offensive football is. And for some reason on Sunday, for like the 12th game in his 30 years as a head coach, Andy was genuinely committed to running the football. And as a result, in my estimation, I think you got a number of key moments that I would argue very clearly propelled your team to victory. League-wide, there was this clear return to running the ball in 2024. In some ways, it felt like it was maybe just running backs were healthy in a way that they hadn't been in a long time. But like running the ball, run first teams. I mean, the two teams that everybody was on all season last year was Philly and Baltimore, and just their ability to run the ball. But this season, it's those big packages with like 6 offensive linemen and 3 tight ends, and those are what's continuing to thrive. And a lot of offenses are finding success when they operate under center. And we're now, it's like, seems like a weekly basis. How many plays did they run under center? How many times did they do that versus RPOs? Like as if it's a measure of whether or not the Chiefs are paying attention or if they're doing the right thing. And finally enter not one, but 2 running backs, Isaiah Pacheco and Dameon Pierce. Look, the Chiefs need all the talent that they can get in that running back room. And although I'm not really expecting much from either guy, I could totally see Dameon Pierce becoming a thing. The scouting report on him is that he's a slasher that loves those zone runs to the edge. So he's kind of perfect for the RPO game. I think that he is going to be a lot quicker to be able to execute on some of those plays than any other running back that the Chiefs currently have, because it is literally his style. Regardless we need Andy and the other, brain trust as far as the offense. We need them to stay committed to being a bit more physical by running the ball every week. It opened up the passing game in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs got some explosives because of it. And look, and short, run the damn ball. Like I think that's where we're at, man. And I hope that they realized that it led to the success that they had in the fourth quarter, continuing to go back to it over and over and over again, to the tune of Kareem getting 30 carries. It's amazing.
They actually ran it so much that I think the Colts started, actually paying attention to it, and it became ineffective because they were paying attention and Trey Smith was out and there just wasn't any holes anymore. Like it became later on in the game like they couldn't run the ball. They had run the ball so much that they could no longer run the ball. So yeah, I think it's a lot of, the people saying running the ball doesn't matter was kind of true like 5 years ago, like before we saw this heavy switch in defensive philosophy to like this too high defense that started seeing all the success and everything started veering towards that, and defenses started getting lighter and, like in the linebacker range, they got faster to defend the pass. In the defensive line, they started focusing more on who could rush the passer, not who could eat up blocks and stop the run. And it's just like the old line of the NFL is cyclical. It's going to come back. And it kind of has now. Like we're kind of back to that where defense is kind of over adjusted to that too high thing. And now the way to beat it is the running game. And you're looking at all the best offenses in the league right now. And they're all kind of, maybe not leaning into the run so much, but a lot of best offenses are operating under center, which is something that I have never even seen. It's never even been like a focus, never been on my radar whatsoever until like this season. And now all of a sudden it is just like the soup du jour of you got to get under center. So in this game, they had 2 passes and 16 runs under center, a season high 18 snaps from under center, and only 49 plays in those 18 snaps. It's not like a very good yards per play. Now, I think a lot of those were in short yardage situations, so that you're not going to get much yardage. If you get a 3rd and 1, that's a good play. So they did have a positive EPA per play, whatever the hell that means. I fucking hate EPAs, but here it is. That's what I got. That's from Price Carter, who puts a lot of good stats on Twitter, by the way. But I was just looking at like the personnel kind of, and I think the Chiefs knew they had to protect Kareem Hunt's health, so they didn't run him enough versus Denver. And this week, they knew they had Pacheco ready to go on Thursday, so they were confident feeding him the rock. And I think they kind of told themselves, we cannot afford to lose Kareem Hunt. Like, if we give him the ball 25 times, can he survive that? We cannot afford to go down both Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, because now we're stuck with Clyde, who actually knows the offense, but gives you very little, or another piece like Elijah Mitchell, who they obviously don't seem to trust, or somebody else off the street, and then you're in real trouble. So I think they were kind of trying to protect themselves, and it bit them in the ass in that Denver game by not running it enough. And you saw this week with the security blanket of Pacheco coming back, which I think is big for this Cowboys game. Okay, let's give Kareem Hunt the ball 30 times. And if something happens, we have Pacheco to fall back in this Cowboys game. So we still have a running back we're confident in for that game. So I think part of that went into it. But yeah, it was, obvious that they leaned into the run way more in this game than they had at, I don't know, any time in recent memory. I saw like some graphs of other games, but they were kind of like blowouts. Like they ran the ball a lot against the Raiders, obviously, because they were just smashing them. The Commanders, obviously, because they were beating them up. Like other games where they had a healthy lead, they had high running numbers like that. But this was like the only real close game where they had like close to even run pass split. So it was interesting to see them legitimately embrace that idea and lean into it in this game.
It's crazy, man. Most plays by any offense in a game this season, wouldn't be surprised if people started tracking that back. They were in like 98 plays or something. It was a lot.
I saw 91 somewhere and then something else. I wonder if another one.
Matt Nagy said they ran 96 or 98. Maybe there's some penalties in there that he's counting for or something.
Yeah. It reminds me of the 2018 AFC Championship game against the Patriots. The Patriots ran 100 offensive plays, and old Dirkie was sitting out there at the game trying to figure out why he had no juice left in overtime to scream his face off. Yeah. And it was when I learned probably 48 hours later, like, actually they ran 100 offensive plays. You've never screamed that much in your entire Chiefs life.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, man, the Chiefs had twice as many rushing yards as a team than the Colts did, literally 74 to 148. And you're talking about the MVP of the league who ran for 200 something just, in his most recent game before the bye. I think that there's something to being physical enough throughout the game. And maybe it's an accumulation of 90 plays or whatever, when you get into overtime, all the extras that are there. But I personally, the story that I'm telling myself is that the Chiefs being physical on offense and running the ball that many times led to the Colts opting to go zone sometimes a couple times in the fourth quarter because they're just too tired to continue to run and continue to tackle. Zone, you cover less ground than if you're having to run everywhere. And when you got that many plays and you're getting hit that many times over and over and over again, yeah, you might throw a zone out there so that your guys can get a breather, right? And Matt Nagy is using this term breather runs, which just means we're going to hand the ball off so that Pat doesn't have to think too much this play. He literally said it lowers the mental toll of the game to hand the ball off. And I'm like, man, you guys are saying the quiet part loud, and yet you don't end up fucking handing the ball off in every game. It's like you only do it sometimes. And I don't know if it's a matter of like they just need to have a running back that like forces them to give him the ball. I mean, if they could recreate a rookie Kareem Hunt, get a guy in the third round that they're like, oh my God, he just led the league in rushing as a rookie. It's almost like they need to luck into this amazing running back that forces their hand. Because I got to tell you, folks, I don't know if this crop of receivers that the Chiefs have is like the godsend, the juggernaut that we all thought that it might be, and I really think that they're going to have to continue to lean on this run game and figure out, the right division of labor and stuff, because it's like you said, Andy, the one thing he was able to say about Kareem Hunt today was that he's upright. So that's good. Like they got to be careful about how they use these guys for sure. But I think that we need every single, bullet in the chamber or whatever. Each one of those guys has a role to play on this team, up to and including Brashard Smith, who's a small part of the offense, but seems like he's got something for him.
Yeah, I like how they're using Brashard, but I mean, it kind of reminds me of last year when they're just kind of like low on bodies. So they're just handing the ball off to Kareem Hunt because it was just like, we don't know what else to do. We have an old tight end. We have no receivers. So like, here you go, Kareem, let's have you, eat up 3 yards at a time and just work with that. Yeah. Like, that's kind of what Nagy's quote makes me think of there. Your other option there, you said what are they going to do to get one of these guys to get lucky? Another part is taking a bite out of your future and sending a third round pick for Breece Hall. I mean, that was an option, but it's just you gotta have to weigh if that's worth it or not.
Yeah, mental tough in that situation.
Anything else from this game? I want to highlight the Noah Gray catch, who had, I think it's a tougher ball to catch than people realize on that drop, because he kind of gets his arms up to it, kind of hand fighting with the defender almost, and gets his arm up to it late. And I think that was in his head when that other pass is going to him, and he just kind of gets upended, and he's just telling himself, I'm not fucking dropping this ball no matter what, even if I'm knocked unconscious. And that ends up turning a 4th and 8 into a 4th and 3, which is the Rashid catch. Much more manageable, and that's a drive with the season on the line. So that was awesome. I still haven't seen, I feel like when he comes down, the ball is kind of resting. I guess it's in his arm. I never really saw like a good angle if that was just kind of sitting on the turf. So I thought it was going to be a non-catch. Like, I thought we'd get a lot more replays of that. But they just called it a catch and moved on. So an amazing effort from Noah Gray, one that I will always remember. That's impressive.
You didn't see the feed when the ref went and talked to New York and was like, hey, what are you guys seeing? And they were like, that's all day Noah Gray. Of course it was a catch. That was the replay that I saw. There wasn't much debate about it because it was Noah Gray.
Except for a few drives earlier when he didn't catch it. They should review that. Mahomes called Kareem Hunt a warrior. I don't know if that term is like commonplace. We've been using it since last year, I know. So that was kind of excited me a little bit. How about their road record this year? As we kind of pivot into the Cowboys game, are you ready to pivot into that?
Yeah.
Road record, they are, sorry, I'm kind of adding it up, 1-4 on the year. So they only lost the one game at home to the Eagles on the road, including the neutral site game in Brazil, 1-4 this season, before going into this Cowboys game, which I will just start off by saying this game terrifies me. I feel like the chances of a letdown are at an all-time high. Because we have seen the Chiefs have some big wins this year, but then we've also seen them have some letdowns. And this just feels like the ultimate 91 snaps on offense, tired team, riding this high, like we righted the ship, like we're back. And we've kind of done this a few times. I mean, we've beat the Ravens and Lions and kind of got to have it games this year, and then haven't really responded well to those. So this game is, it's one when you're staring at the streak where you're just like, yeah, of course they're going to beat the Cowboys. But, Vegas puts this as a less likely win than they did the Colts game at home. So this is a very tricky game. Thanksgiving, which the Dallas crowd obviously going to be pumped for. It's going to be the most watched game in NFL regular season history. So that's something. And I am just terrified of it. What are your initial thoughts on Chiefs and Cowboys?
Another really good offense. They're fourth in points, first in yards, as of the week beginning. All the stats have been updated. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think that teams have really been able to attack this Chiefs defense the way that Dallas wants to, down the field. I think that Brian Cook is playing as good as maybe any safety in the NFL right now. And I'm really excited to see how he can help impact some of the deep throws that are inevitably going to come.
Sorry, just another play. Brian Cook breaking up that pass. It just seems, I mean, in the grand scheme, it's like, yeah, so what? It's a 1st and 10 where he bats a ball away. But it's in his hands, going to be a catch. Great breakup. A 1st and 10 that goes to a 2nd, 2 that eventually becomes one of those 3 and outs from the defense. Just a great play that adds up to the piece of the pie of the comeback.
He was going to be one of my amateurs of the game, but then he led the team in tackles, and I said, I can't use that. Sorry, Brian, you were too productive to be an amateur on Sunday.
A professional stat line.
But he's fantastic. I actually started looking at Brian Cook jerseys because I think he's my guy. I think I'm a Brian Cook guy now.
You're gonna cook. Brian's gonna cook. You love to cook.
We're cooking. It's my guy. Ryan and Brian. Andy's a cook. So I think it might be there's some good vibes in there.
Until we don't re-sign him and he walks in a year.
I certainly hope that's not the case. Given how little they play Jaden Hicks. Got to have one homegrown around. I think that where I'm scared about the Cowboys is that it's just, I mean, you said it, like it's going to be potentially the most watched regular season NFL game of all time. That's cool. The pageantry of getting to play in Dallas. Mahomes is probably going to have a bad first quarter. I'm just saying, like, he's going to be,
it's a Super Bowl level.
Yes, he's going to be hyped up. He's going to be so excited. It's Thanksgiving afternoon and he's playing at home, for all intents and purposes. And he's probably going to be bad in the first quarter. I think that I have in my head that the Chiefs are just going to outscore him is what it's going to come down to, that the Chiefs defense is better than their defense. And so they will get whatever stop or stops that they need and Dallas will not be able to. And that the Chiefs offense will do enough against a bad Cowboys defense to be able to keep up with the 4th best scoring offense in the league. The Chiefs are like 9th. So they're really only 3-4 points a game apart, I think, at this point. But Dallas is explosive for sure. If the Chiefs are really going to have to, I think, shut down the run game, even though it doesn't have that like highlight guy. Javonte Williams is not somebody that necessarily scares you. I know that the numbers are good, but he's like the difference between Javonte Williams and like we're playing Jonathan Taylor this week. But he's been so good, and that running offense has been so consistent for Dallas that I do think they better not relax too much and say, well, it's not John Taylor, so we don't have to care. Because if they're able to run the ball, it just makes it so much harder to play pass defense. I will say if I'm worried about anything defensively, and this is not fair, but both receivers that Dallas has in Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are bad matchups for Trent McDuffie. Both of them are. Just the reach and everything. McDuffie can be in their pockets, and maybe because George Pickens is a crazy person, that McDuffie will just piss him off the way that he's pissed off Jamar Chase and can like completely take him out of the game mentally. But it's going to be tough covers. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs gave up one of the higher totals that they have of the season.
In that Cowboys run game, there's a guy, Clayton Adams, who's kind of on people's radar. He's their offensive coordinator. He was the Cardinals run game coordinator in the last few years, and they've had a shockingly good run game the last couple of years with like James Conner. And it's really fallen off this year. So you kind of look at like the trends of where he's been his last couple stops, and it seems like he's done a lot of damage. So that's kind of why their run game has picked up after not being much of anything last year. Well, Dowdle was like okay, but I think they're better across the board this year with probably a worse running back.
The nerds love that guy, like Mina Kimes and Ben Solak. I mean, week after week, they're like, oh my God, this Cardinals run game. And I'm like, the Cardinals are not relevant. Why are you watching Cardinals football as a Chiefs fan? But yeah, that's a guy that has been clocked by a lot of people as being a really great run game designer. And it's obviously paying dividends in Dallas.
The Cardinals are really relevant to me because I'm sitting here on my hands and knees watching Jacoby Brissett playing a game with the atmosphere of a preseason game week 2, where I'm just like, please move the ball down the field for the love of God, Brisket. So that's something new. Scoreboard watching is something that hasn't really been on the radar for a while as a Chiefs fan. So you talked about outscoring the Cowboys. I think the key stat here, which I saw come across today, Patrick Mahomes in domes. Forgot about this one.
Good one.
He is 15-0. 15-0. That's a good start. 4,565 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Not a bad stat line for Patrick Mahomes and domes. So that will be fun. He might have the lights in his eyes. I think we're in the key lights shining through the Cowboys stadium, which is silly, but also leads to great pictures. So we have that to look forward to. And then, which you didn't get to, Trey Smith being out in this game against a loaded defensive tackle room now with Quinnen Williams. My prediction is that I believe him being out will prove how easy it is to cover for a bad player at guard. And that will be a take that I have following this game, that you can hide a bad player at guard. And I don't think Caliendo's very good. I think he was getting beaten pretty good in this last game, but I think they'll just squeeze. You know, he's between the center and the tackle. Just squeeze. You know, he just needs a little squeeze help. Just squeeze him there. But I think guard is like, I'm always confused because guards get paid way more than centers in the NFL, and it's never made sense to me. But I think guard is the easiest position to hide, and this will be the ultimate test because you have a backup going up against the second best defensive tackle in the league in Quinnen Williams, or top 5 at the least.
Yeah, he's real good. There's going to be a number of matchups that are worth watching.
You ready for more Tony Romo in your life?
I don't think that I get bothered by announcers the way that other people do. I heard a lot of like, oh my God, Tony Romo, even my good friend Craig, like I can't even listen to this dude. And I think I just am not listening enough for it to like be a big thing. I will say that sure, I prefer Greg Olson. But that's because I feel like he explains stuff, and Tony Romo's not an explainer. He was a predictor, and now he's just a reactor. But it's weird that it's the 4th game in a row of Nance and Romo.
I think that's why we're all getting annoyed. It's just like too much time spent with one answer. You can't, it's too much.
Guys, it's not you, it's me. We just need a break.
But I need a break from Jim Nance. He's a lovely human being.
Nance is great. That's true. I got nothing else, Dirk. I'm ready to go. Well, I need your sports nuts.
You my sports nuts? You didn't get enough of my big things?
No.
My sports nuts, I was just going to detail watching the Chiefs on vacation. It was actually the first time I've seen the Chiefs lose like while on vacation. So that was interesting. They've every game before that they've won. including the 2013 Marcus Cooper interception return game against the Bills. Sean Smith. Sean Smith returned the touchdown in that game, right?
I don't know, Dirk. Some are saying it's your fault that the Chiefs lost to the Broncos.
Because I won.
Briscoe and I had a lot of comments about it. They were like, dude, that damn Dirk.
I listened. I think you're lying.
Okay.
It did put a damper on the vacation for a few hours. I did schedule like a cruise boat ride immediately after, so we just had something to go right into, win or loss. So I wasn't just sitting there, staring at my phone. So it did damper me for a few hours, I will say, but overall, much easier to put it behind you on vacation. It's just kind of, especially in a beautiful, beautiful place like that, you just kind of look around like, okay. And so I've been kind of waxing poetic about Chiefs and the run they've been on and feeling more appreciative than anything instead of getting mad at the team. And I think that's what's kind of led to the Joe Posnanski pros to lead off the show today. It's changed. It's a new Dirk in town.
I heard you found a new chief too. Some new Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs rugby team. I was pumped to find that. Went to the All Blacks are all over out there. But then they got their little league, and they got the I forgot the Gallagher. It's the Gallagher Chiefs. That's my new ride or die New Zealand rugby team for life. I'm a lifer here.
Okay, and that's your sports nuts. You're now a fan of a Chiefs rugby team.
Yeah, big game coming up this week, and man, they've had an up and down season. I'll tell you.
All right, folks. I hope everybody enjoys their Thanksgiving. Dirk's the biggest turkey I know.
Oh, what do you think to do thankful is poor Ryan?
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I am thankful for a lot. Probably this year, becoming a dad. I can't wait to talk to everybody. It's going to be a weird, wonky talk about the Cowboys game a little bit in between this one and the next one, which is Houston, right? I think. At any rate, this has been another episode of Amateur Hour. I am Ryan Scott Hall. He is his Dirkness. The Chiefs are with a winning record.
Alive.
Shockingly, finally. They are alive. It's one week at a time. Everybody enjoy your Thanksgiving and go Chiefs.
Chiefs giving.